What are we talking about, Christian?
Steph. All right. All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of Into the Lion's Den with your co-hosts. Captain has no taste in movies and Christian Griffith.
I have excellent taste. I just don't.
Sorry, everybody, you're not going to get to hear the banter, but we just had a long debate about I Am Legend and, okay, toss it into the comments below. Are they zombies or are they vampires? Because we really need this debate settled. All right?
I mean, we've already settled the debate. They're vampires. They can't go in the sun.
Because you read some Reddit clip. You're like, okay.
It wasn't Reddit, first off. How dare you?
Okay, steal everything.
We're going to leave that in.
I'm the one editing this.
Okay, I'm going to start over.
But that was such a good open.
Was it?
No, that was really good. Keep going, you're good.
All right. Anyways, brought to you proudly by Pride Roofing and Construction and Level Creative Studios.
Captain No Taste in Movies. Wow. That's cold, dog.
Yeah, you know what? I thought we were cooler than that. Now it's just me that's cool and you over there with your gray beard.
I'm a legendary pirate now. I'll take it.
All right. Anyways, guys, so we are not talking about zombies and vampires, although we could probably put out some pretty good content for that. What we're going to be talking about today is staying ahead of the curve, adapting to your current environment, not being resistant to change, and we're going to focus a lot on AI. So we do have a resident, intellectual here when it comes to, I guess, computer things and such. I am pretty tech challenged, so it's going to come a lot from him. And I'm going to say why I've been resistant and now not so much resistant. So tell us a little bit about what you know about AI.
I'm going to put the disclaimer right here, right now. I am not an expert in this subject. Please do not quote me on anything. I just know how powerful it is in the way that it's changed my workflows and how useful it is. If you've watched any of these podcasts, this probably came through. I'm a pretty emotional person, so I have both very high highs and very low lows. So when I get frustrated and try to write an email, I sound like a total jerk. And then
I thought you were going to come up with a better one.
I'm trying to be better.
Asshat, douchebag, asshole.
All of the above.
I'm just dolphining that out.
I mean, I'm definitely all of the above at times. So, but the power of bringing something like that in has been huge as far as when I'm specifically writing automations for inside of our CRM of these are the emails that go to everyone. And I'm able to create a really nice template that I can tell the AI to write for our different trades or different things and create new automations that go to both my team and potentially to our clients. And the power of that is incredible because there's a lot of stuff of a lot of times I'll write something and then I'll have it clean it up. I'll have ChatGPT or Gemini clean it up and make it, like I said, with the high highs and high lows, less emotional. So it's more business professional when I'm trying to send out emails because I don't always sound that way.
So you just press a button that says corporatize.
I'm not quite that bad. But the power, I mean, like I said, I underutilize it for the capability that it has. I've spent a bunch of time reading on prompts and things, and the power it has is incredible. I actually used it. I'm not an Excel person, but I do a lot in Excel now. And utilizing it to help me learn how to write the formulas and things like that would take me a while to figure out, of asking it the questions of it's like having a teacher over your shoulder all the time of, I don't know how to do this. This is what I'm trying to do. Tell me how to do it.
Sure.
Has been incredibly powerful. Corporatizing some of our older forms that we created when, they're just internal use, but making them more corporatized has been very powerful.
That's the button.
That's the button. I'm just gonna order a big red button and put it on my desk.
AI, baby.
Corporatize. But it's a tool, and I think that's the big thing that when people talk about resistance and like how secure is it and how much are they taking and training their models with, and there's a lot of questions that go along with it. In that, I know that Adobe had a huge backlash when they added that to their terms and condition of they're going to use it to train one of their models because people don't want their hard work taken.
Right.
So I know that there's a lot of worry with that. I know that there's been a lot of backlash in like the creator space because of AI music and AI art and things like that. And all of us have seen the Coca-Cola ad that was real bad. Coca-Cola did a Christmas ad that was awful.
You said all of us. I'm like, I didn't see it, so
Okay.
tell me more. Yeah.
They did a fully and celebrated it in the ad of like this was done with AI, and the backlash was immediate and vast because it was just like, here's 75 stereotypical images for Christmas involving Coke and Coca-Cola.
He's not talking about the drug here. Yeah.
Where's the polar bear?
Yeah. And it was just, there was no soul, there was no heart. And so it was just...
See, that's been part of my resistance to all of it. Like, I get the idea, right? And I understand how valuable it could be that this machine that we've created can access almost nearly instantaneously all of the world's information and summarize it for the point you're trying to make or for the use that you're trying to create. I get that. There's nothing about that I don't get. But taking away the humanness of things is also something that I'm a little bit nervous about, right? How many things will it take away from, hardworking Americans, hardworking people? What's the adaptation going to be in the future, or is it going to be that everybody needs the government to bail them out because the government owns AI, so therefore they own everything? And like, where does it end? Where does it, that kind of stuff, right? Obviously, I think that it's kind of far-fetched to be sitting on the train that, that I originally was joking about when we first started talking about AI in here, whenever, it really started popping up a year and a half ago or however long it's been now. But I don't really think that the machines are going to rise up and take over like on Terminator. But I don't think that having... you're essentially taking away the humanness of everything that's going on, right? I said that before, but when you take away the humanness and then know that the programs are being built by humans, so they're going to embed things into those that automatically can, or not automatically, but has the ability to shape the way people think about things if they rely solely on this, right? Right. We know, my pastor, a couple actually on Christmas Eve, church, the candlelight service. He's talking about a letter written by this girl. She's graduating high school, but she wrote a letter that essentially stated why Gen Z is the way that it is, why Gen Z is so depressed, and why Gen Z is so not invested in anything, and there's almost like there's zero emotion, and a lot of it boils down to the unconnectedness of people and how they feel as though there is no hope any longer, right? And if you embed that into society, and that's just the way society runs, who's the person making the rules within the program, right? Does this person have our best interests in mind, right? And are we going to be able to fight against that? And so that, like, when I think more of like a cultural, like this could be a problem when I'm resistant. But what I also understand is that the world is going to travel in this direction. So there should be advocates. There should be people that are making sure that there's clarity, there's transparency, there's security involved with this kind of stuff. But as a business owner, I can't miss this train, right? It would be really, really stupid for me to let all the competitors embed all the usefulness of having the world's data all summarized for me and put right there neatly wrapped in a bow on my desk for me, and not utilize that in some way, shape, and form, right? So we've got to flirt that line, but I have some concerns when it comes to just the overall cultural shift that's going to create if it's not already creating it, right? And then adapting so that you can stay successful. That's a difficult balance for me.
I think it can be a huge balance. I mean, we've seen what happens when AI is utilized poorly or utilized for less than neutral purposes. So and then that's my concern with AI is our data is already, this is going to be very conspiracy theory, but what we see daily is already very controlled, whether or not anyone wants to believe it or not. But
Everybody watching this, you guys know, regardless of which side of the political spectrum that you're on, you know that the stuff that you were ingesting in terms of the media and the news and the stories and all the things were tailor fit directly to you to purposefully feed your ego, feed your thought, feed what it is that you wanted.
create your own echo chamber.
Your little echo chamber, right? But then you do this on a worldwide scale, right? The unification of everybody towards one thought process. What are we just going to be drones?
Gross.
That's the thing that I'm thinking about, right?
And I understand that side of it. I think that it can be a very incredibly powerful tool, but when we take the tool and have it replace people, that's when it becomes a problem. Of when I think I haven't gone and sat down at a restaurant outside of like lunches for the company in over a year, just on my own. Actually, since 2020, I have not, of my own accord, gone and sat down in a restaurant because a lot of places focus so heavily on that takeout part of it. Of like, and this is, I'm leading back to the AI with this, but I just don't do it anymore because it was too easy to just get it to go watch whatever I wanted to watch at home or play video games or listen to I listen to a lot of audiobooks. So it was just easier to do that because then, I can have my entertainment I want and the food was every bit as good and it was easy. 2020 and the rise of takeout was huge. And I just worry that we'll see a very similar type thing with AI. All of a sudden, your interaction becomes very sterile because everyone's running it through some sort of AI.
Right. You've watched WALL-E?
Yeah.
Okay. So just imagine the people that are incredibly overweight, lethargic, basically worthless, hovering around, and they have literally everything that they could ever need inside of their hovering little recliner.
It's delivered right to them.
Just you hover around, like their version of exercise is to go to the tennis court and watch TV in the tennis court because you're on it, right? Like it's and I'm not saying that like that's pretty far-fetched, right? But at the same time, it's like what the thing that made the world what it is, that makes people who they are, makes America great, is the individuality of it, the personality, the conflict even is part of that, right? There needs to be debate. There needs to be varying opinions about things. And if you take away like any reason to debate, like what are we even doing? You know what I mean?
There's not really any point in it anymore. So I think that when you're integrating AI and it's about doing it responsibly and utilizing it responsibly. We've called out a lot of companies today, but don't do like what Spotify did this year with Wrapped.
Yeah.
This year was culturally the most disappointing Wrapped for most people ever. And that's because they had a team that was running the AI to help them do it, was building it and teaching it and all those things. They fired most, if not all of that team. I don't know the exact numbers. Laid off, not fired. Same thing, but different. Anyway.
Same, but different.
They laid off most of the team that was doing the AI, and they just let the AI do it this year. And it was gross.
Yeah.
My Wrapped was, I looked forward to Wrapped every year. It was one of those things of like, that's really cool to see all this stuff. I literally looked at it and went, this is like the last 6 weeks, not the last year,
Right.
that you built a Wrapped on. Of like, I listened to some of these songs 2 or 3 times in the last 6 weeks, and they're on here. And I listened to a lot of hours of music. But because they didn't have someone feeding it the prompts and providing the human touch and teaching, they did it irresponsibly.
Yeah.
And then it lost that, what we're talking about, that human touch
Right.
of integrating tools should be that. They should be, tools are utilized by humans. So we utilize tools to make ourselves better. So when we're adapting these things, it's about adapting them responsibly and utilizing them as a tool, not as a replacement. Sometimes you need that, the other way that you can utilize AI and these things that we're talking about is I can't pay to have X, Y, and Z on my team right now. I'm too small. I'm growing my company. I'm growing my business. But I really need a person who does this. Or I don't have enough knowledge here, but I can't afford to have someone come on full time to do this. That's a great time to supplement until you can. That's utilizing the tool responsibility. We talked about this a few episodes ago of do whatever you can until you can't.
So I think we cycled back to a good point where we can kind of actually get back into the script of what we were talking about. But those are the reservations, right? That I've always had towards it. The thing when you take humans away from things, what is the product that you're going to get? It might be automated, but it's cyborg, right? It's still not a human. It doesn't have the soul. It doesn't have the personality. We all get that. So in order to adapt into this situation, whatever the position is that the viewer is sitting in, whether it's the coach or the mentor or the owner or the leader or whatever it is, what tools can you embed into your life to make it faster, keep up with the competitors, and also not lose that flavor, that personal flavor. Simply, I guess a good bullet point that I can put to that is I literally will stop reading an email if I know it's written in ChatGPT. And that's probably not what the person putting that email together wanted me to do. They actually really cared that it was written professionally. But I read it, I'm like, this isn't you. Next email. Right? But that's because I have that, chip on my shoulder when it comes to that stuff. Now, if it's an internal email, and obviously I'm going to read it because I want to know everything that's going on here, but I'm getting an email from whoever trying to sell me whatever service, and I'm like, you don't talk like that. Bye. Right?
So would you say it's anti-sales for you? Would you say like it hurts a sale? Should you notice it was coming from?
It would for me. It would for me. Absolutely. Right, which is also why I introduce certain things to my clients. When I'm working direct with a client, I'll tell them we send automated emails, but I'm going to tell you it's going to look like a robot. It's not written from me, but it's coming from me. If anything looks different than what we've already communicated, just shoot me a text. I'll call you. We'll talk through it, that kind of stuff. But I position people for that because that's my reservation towards it. Maybe I'm judging too much, but I just don't think that when I'm reading something, if somebody really wanted my business, they're going to take the time to write an articulated email from their perspective with their personality twists on it and that type of stuff. So there's a time and a place. Internal process emails, sure. Let GPT run it all the way through. It's going to give you a workflow, and it's going to say why we do all these things, and it looks great. But you're trying to get somewhere in life. It might not be the best approach to let a robot do your job for you, right? So...
I mean, maybe it is. No,
yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But there's other things too. So like we've elected to buy into a phone's going crazy over here. We've elected to buy into a marketing service that's assisting us with search engine optimization. But the basis of that entire marketing ploy is an integrated AI built in, or is integrated like an API connection into our business profile on Google, right? It's doing a lot of work that we don't have the manpower for and that we don't have the money for. And it's going to do it automatically, right? We've got people, but if you really want to beat Google's algorithm, use another algorithm, right?
Work alongside it, optimize it.
You know what I mean? So like it has its time and its place, but when it takes over everything, that's when I think that you lose a little bit from that type of thing. So being rigid and, being the old head, like we talked about this on a long form podcast. I don't know how many weeks ago it was, but I was talking about the evolution of technologies and making sure that we actually adopt to those things. So I think we were talking about estimating softwares and services, right? I still compete against contractors all the time who, this is a $2 million roofing project, and they gave you their bid on a piece of paper that's 3 sentences long, handwritten with a number 2 pencil, right? They're that old school. That professionally does not look the same as an AI-generated, professional presentation software where you put the same information in, but it gave you this beautiful-looking thing. Like that's valuable. That's something that you should integrate, right? So keeping up with the times, we should learn to play with it, but you don't put it in replacement of yourself, because I think that if you ever take yourself out of the mix and you separate the head from the body, that's when you're just rolling the dice and hoping people all fall into robots are okay. And I don't need any personal connection. This is just a service. I don't need any exemplary service, or interaction or warm fuzzy feelings while I'm there. I'm just going to press a button and it's going to happen for me. If everybody moved to that, then maybe I'm full of shit. But outside of that, people are normal. People want authenticity. They want to work with other humans. They want to know that their emotions and their thoughts and their feelings are all being heard. And a robot does not hear any of those things.
So I think that's the point that I was making at the start of like when I was talking about like sitting down at Chili's.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're starting to see, and this is a personal opinion, but I think we're starting to see the transition back to like brick and mortar.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope we are, because I miss specifically, like I think about some of my best memories when I was growing up in high school, like just going and walking around the mall or something.
Yeah.
And that's not a thing for Gen Z.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you the last time I walked into a mall.
Yeah. I can. It was to use the restroom.
Fair enough. But it's just, that move away from dealing with people, which I worked in retail. I understand dealing with people's ass a lot of times.
It's what do you call it? Cheeks. It's cheeks.
Totally cheeks. But other times it's just nice to like, I'm very much the Ron Swanson of like, I know more than you when I'm shopping for stuff. But at the same time, there's times when it's nice to like have that human interaction and actually work with people and provide those opportunities of, I just don't think there's enough social interaction. So that when we're talking about trying to integrate specifically like millennials and Gen Z, that maybe not so much millennials, but you're seeing it a lot with Gen Z.
Later half millennials, maybe. Yeah.
Of they're really thriving in needing personal contact. They're starting to move back towards that.
Yeah.
And
Well, they got a slap from reality. All the distancing started well before social distancing happened, right? Distancing started about a year or two into MySpace and Facebook, right? I've said this 1,000 times, and I still truly believe this. I wish that I would have been born in the 70s so I could have experienced the 80s as a young adult, right? I think that would be the coolest thing ever. Gen Xers probably can press. Yeah, it was awesome because you had to go outside, right? You couldn't literally get anything you want from a square thing in your pocket within the next 2 hours or less. And 2 hours is probably too long a time. Like it blows my mind that Amazon can do same day shipping for something that would take me literally more than a day to go find myself. Right, that's crazy, right? So the convenience and the connectedness of social media handles and that type of stuff has changed the course of human history, and it's changed the patterns of behavior of everybody, right? Whether people like it or not. I've never been an incredibly just social butterfly. Back when I was a drinker, I was definitely a social butterfly.
Sure.
But that was motivated by something else. So let's just not talk about chemicals changing your personality. But at the same time, like I was more social. I wanted to go see more friends. I wanted to do more things. I wanted to go outside more, right? And then all of a sudden it became very convenient that I didn't necessarily need to show up to the birthday party because I could just send a birthday text or put a nice little post out with a picture that we took 6 years ago that I still somehow happen to have on my camera roll, and that's special, right? That's today's special. You know what I mean? And so we've all gotten to the point where we've separated ourselves and we live in these little silos. And I feel like we just have to find balance, right? So I firmly believe we all need to adapt to what's going on so that we don't get left, in the taillights, right? But at the same time, we all need to make sure that we self-assess and make sure we're doing this smart so that the human race, the people just in general, don't move away from those cultural values that we have, where we embrace each other's uniqueness, we embrace differences, we talk about them, we find middle grounds, and we grow together. Your business has to, and that's wide scale. This is a different topic than we've normally talked about, where we're actually kind of debating something, but at the same time, it's like you still got to plant that into your daily life as well. Like your business, don't take away the personal touch of your business. Don't stop dedicating time to the experience and the perception of your clientele. But anyways, yeah, that's I guess that's all I was saying is like we have to take that those worries and we have to assess those things, and then we have to do our part. Like as a business owner, I know I need to integrate things that are going to make us more efficient, that are make us more successful, make us move faster, that make us hemorrhage less, so on and so forth. I get those things, but I don't want to take the personal touch out of it. I feel like the world will be lost if all businesses, all teams, all things take the personal effect, the personal interaction out. So
I definitely feel the same way we utilize a lot of technology here, and I am the first person to tell you that I freaking hate like Teams, Google Meets, those kind of things. They're powerful tools, and you have to use them for that hybrid work type situation when you have those people. But it's kind of the same feeling I have with cell phones and the immediate, like, I don't like it that people feel that they have immediate access to me 100% of the time.
yeah.
No. I have.
Can I get a like for that comment? But seriously though, I remember, before I didn't have my first cell phone until I was a senior in high school, right?
I was a sophomore, so about the same time.
Yeah, and so it didn't completely destroy my whole life until that. I mean, I'm not saying it can destroy my life, but it changed everything the second that you get it. Because, I mean, how uncomfortable is it for you, JD, when you don't know where your phone is?
I know where it is all the time. It's one thing that I've always been super weird about as far as like, I know where it is all the time, but I have to intentionally like throw my phone across a room if I'm watching a movie or something. I'll go put it on the charger in another room because otherwise I'll look at it.
Yeah.
Because
I
it's
guess
always glued
you
to
answered without answering the question, but it's always glued to you. It's as if it's a necessity for people these days. And I'm not saying that it's not a good tool. It's a supercomputer. You have access to the world in your pocket, right? But be cautious. It does not replace, love and connection and life. It doesn't replace those things. And when you start to let it do that, I mean, there's probably a reason that so many people are taking antidepressants and so many people are feeling disconnected from reality and so many people are committing suicide. I'm not saying it's the cell phone's fault. I'm saying that's an aid in the decline of our civilization.
The disconnection.
Right? Yeah.
Everyone feels disconnected from everybody else.
The tribe is gone. The tribe is gone, and that's how humans survived, was in tribes, right?
Have you heard of the third place theory?
Mm-mm.
So if you watch early 90s sitcoms specifically, they're always, all of the characters always have three places. So they have home, and then friends. They have the coffee shop, home, and then work.
Okay.
So there's three places in their life so they're not always just work and home. There's a third place that's the intermediary. It breaks up the monotony of the day.
Yeah.
And largely you've seen in the transition from like the 90s comedies because of the price inflation and things like that, millennials and Gen Z, Gen Z and then Alpha don't really have a third place. And so there's a lot of theory behind people not having a third place anymore of like, and it goes all the way back. Cheers, How I Met Your Mother. All of these they all had a third place. It was a third place to call. It was home away from home.
Right.
And what that's done to culture, because we no longer have those things specifically in the U.S., whereas they still have places like that in Europe,
Okay.
where they have big public parks that are safe and clean and not what we consider when we think of public parks in the U.S. Specifically, like, yeah, anyway, we don't need to go down that road. But, or they still have places where you can go get, a cup of coffee for a couple of bucks, to where you can sit down, have a cup of coffee, interact with each other. It's not, a $10 bill when you want to go get a cup of coffee.
Right.
Of sit down and interact with people. And I think that's, when we're talking about all this disconnect, that's a huge part of it. Don't, we may need to cut all this because this feels way off topic, but it's just that constant disconnect that I think everybody feels. And it's really hard to move past. And
So how do we bridge the gap of adapting to the world around us and not being overcome because of the adaptation? How do we bridge that gap so that we can deliver some kind of smart learning tool for our viewers?
I think the big thing that I would consider, especially as a software person, I do all of that here, the systems person, not bringing in tools just to eliminate positions. And your tools should be utilized to help people be better.
Right.
And training, helping people be better, engaging with your people, regardless of what that looks like, utilizing what we just talked about, Zoom. There's nothing more powerful than that, something like that, of being able to hop in a video. I've been able to help people with computer problems because that exists now.
Yeah.
Share your screen with me. And then they're doing.
Right.
So there's positives to this stuff also. It's show me what your problem is. Okay, here's how you fix it. That way next time it's not a big deal.
Right.
Because this was a super easy fix. You can do it no problem. Can't always do that. But utilizing your tools that way.
I think that's a good point to make, is don't, well, I mean, I'm sure people have done this and are already trying to do this, which is eliminate their burden, right? Their payroll burden by automating as many things as humanly possible. I'm not saying that's a bad strategy. Maybe you're overspending, right? Maybe there are things where you can trim up and work with, but those people that you believed in that are sitting in those positions, if you forget about them as you're trying to make these changes and you're not using EOS, right, an entrepreneurial operating system, right, if you're not using the ability to push these people into different seats on the bus, you're kind of creating your own Achilles heel as a business, right? You might be incredibly profitable for the small amounts of jobs that you're going to get, because that's essentially what you're going to do. You're going to make a lot of money on few jobs, whereas the people and the engagement of the rest of the people in the army that was once supporting you and is not supporting you anymore, if they were still involved, they'd be able to reach more, get to more, find more, evolve more, show you more viewpoints, stuff like that, right? You don't grow just by yourself and using a robotic system. You have to work with people to find the maximum capacity for a business.
I think that's where most people get forgotten with technology, is we forget about the people. And all technology should be viewed as a tool, not a crutch. Like
Not
a hammer.
Replacement. Yeah.
Or a replacement.
Yeah. Yeah.
This allows me to do this better. This allows QuickBooks allows, small business owners to be able to do their accounting before they can afford to have an accountant, to track their expenses properly and things like that, rather than just like having a box full of receipts. I mean, we've all seen, movies or everything where it's just like, yeah, this is where I keep all my receipts. And it's
Yeah.
just like this giant box. And you're like, what?
You ever you ever watch the movie, the Tom Hanks movie Sully? You seen that when he lands the plane on the Hudson River? When he wins the court case for negligence or whatever it was that they were trying to pin the wreck on him,
'Cause of
and
the
they
simulator.
had the simulator, right? And they were always landing the plane in the simulator, but that's because they knew it was going to happen in front of them, right? So they knew what the simulation was before they sat in the simulator, right? And that's kind of what AI is going to do to people, right? If you don't have that time spent dedicated to critical thinking from the errors and from the like, if it's just programmed to do, right, how are you going to work with something that's a little bit outside the wheelhouse of the mechanism that you put in place? What happens when you get a one-off? What happens when you get some kind of human error that can't be addressed by a robot, and it has to have some people, and you just happen to have fired all those people, right? That's you're up Schitt's Creek without a paddle, my friend, because now you don't have anybody, and nobody really wants to work for you because they found out that you axed all your people. Yeah. So that's one point. I think the other point we made earlier on in the conversation, which is make sure that the personal touch of your business or of whatever you're leading is always there, right? If you're integrating, this for writing emails and this for automated work and this for background work with SEO. If you're doing all of these things, just make sure what's being produced for your I guess your niche, your market share, whoever it is, like the people you're trying to get to. Let's make sure that there's personal interaction involved through every process, right? It's like having drones go out and fight instead of just giving the best weapons of war to an incredibly talented and trained soldier. There are two different interactions. There are two different outcomes are going to happen. Like drones are going to get shot because they're only knowing how to do this and to do this, right? So it's I think that's important. So don't replace your people for the sake of robots. I keep saying robots. We're talking about AI, but I mean I feel like that's exactly where it's going to go. Is we just have these, non-human things doing all of our shit for us, and we're just going to get lazier and lazier. But then the other part is just make sure our personalization is always involved with your business. I think you'd be just fine.
I agree. I think that not being resistant to new tools and evolving workplaces is one of the most important things you can do as a entrepreneur. Of things are going to get, you're going to find better solutions. You're going to find better tools. Things are going to get better. But if you're resistant of like what you're talking about with the still doing it pencil and paper of, yeah, it's going to cost this. This guy gave me why it's going to cost that. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't include any quantities, but like, here's all of the things that I'm doing. It's not just a price on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
That's going to be more powerful, like you said, of make yourself better by utilizing these things.
Remember that it's a tool.
Yeah.
Remember that it's a tool. I think that's the summary of everything. It's a tool. It is not your replacement.
Make your people better.
Yeah. So I guess that's probably a good place to wrap up that conversation. We did this one a little bit different. I liked it. Just kind of diving into a debatable topic. Obviously, you guys might have some differing opinions when it comes to this stuff. Maybe we didn't broach a subject that we should have. Maybe we gave too much leniency and we should get rid of AI altogether. I don't know. But give us your comment in the section below. Please like and subscribe, engage in what we're doing. We'd love to tailor fit the next episode to you, but thank you guys for tuning in, and be cautious integrating AI.
Have a great day, guys.
Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Into the Lion's Den. We appreciate your time, and we hope that you've gathered enough ammunition to go out, fight the good fight, and become a better person every single day. Please like and subscribe, engage in our content, ask us some questions. We'd love to tailor fit the next episode to you.